Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of Around the Slice. As you all know, the Buffalo Bills beat down in the Jacksonville Jaguars last night on Monday Night Football 47 to 10. So, as always, I am here for the staple recap day after the game show with my top takeaways, observations, reactions, all that fun stuff. This is going to be such a fun episode because it was just a beatdown, as you'll find out from my one word to describe this game, like I always like to do, win or loss. But before we get into actual content for today with the actual recap show and all that, I just want to thank you guys, each and every one of you, for all the growth that this channel has seen over the past few days. I have gained a handful of new subscribers. I've hit over my 30 subscribers goal plus a few more. The other day we reached our first ever 100 view episode on this channel. We reached a triple digit view episode for the first time ever. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you for the continued support and growth and improvement of this channel. Whether you're watching or listening on the audio side, I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning into this podcast a couple of times a week, in the off season once a week, in season with the preview, the recaps, and other intermittent content here and there. I really, really do appreciate it. Or even just clicking play and kind of having it on as background noise with whatever you're doing. It really means a lot to me. So anyway, I just wanted to thank you for that, for the continued support and growth. But let's get into actual content. Why not? So as I mentioned, the Buffalo Bills, it was in Orchard Park, so the Bills were home. The Buffalo Bills beat down on the Jacksonville Jaguars 47 to 10. This was just so impressive. My mindset about this game kind of flip-flopped as it got closer and closer. I came on here and told you guys on the recap show, I thought we'll recap my score prediction towards the end of the episode later on in a bit. But I told you guys on the if you saw the preview episode the other day, the end of last week rather, that that I think the Bills win, but narrowly win. But I did not anticipate this. As the game got closer and closer, I was kind of thinking I could see a path where this gets out of hand by halftime or like midway through the third quarter. I didn't think it would get this out of hand so soon. By halftime, it was the whole second half was like garbage time, pretty much, give or take a few minutes there. So as this game got closer, I was thinking I could see a path to a demolishing. I'm not going to predict it, but I could see a path to a dismantling. And that path came to fruition by halftime. That is exactly what happened. The Bills beat down 47 to 10. What is my one word, like I always like to do, win or loss? What is my one word to describe this dismantling of the Jaguars 47 to 10? Massacre. For all intents and purposes, I'm calling this the Monday Night Massacre. The Jacksonville Jaguars got massacred by the Buffalo Bills on national television. Like, this day will go down in, I know this sounds kind of hyperbolic, but this day will go down in history in Bills fandom. On Monday, September 23rd, that's when we took the Jacksonville Jaguars' soul. That's when we massacred Trevor Lawrence. That's when we maybe took Doug Peterson's job and got him fired in the start of the end, if you will. Like, just the Monday Night Massacre. It was a dismantling on national television. So, I mean, like, what a night that was. So, the one word is massacre. Bills inactives pregame. Unfortunately, we already knew about two of them due to injury. Superstar slot corner Taron Johnson and superstar linebacker Terrell Bernard. Now, neither of them, Taron Johnson nor Terrell Bernard, respectively, were put on IR. So I don't think they'll play against the Ravens 6 days away, but I think Taron Johnson could return in a game or two after that, and then Terrell Bernard could return in 3 or 4 games, give or take. But the fact that neither of them were placed on IR, Taron Johnson before last week's game, and then Terrell Bernard before last night's game could have been signals to me, and Sean McDermott echoes it, that they think both of them respectively, obviously Johnson a game or two sooner than Bernard, that they could come back within the 4-week time frame that you would have to be forced to miss to be placed on IR. And then the 3 true healthy inactives, linebacker Eddie Ulofoshio. So they chose Joe Andreessen for the special teams ability, and just he's been way healthier over preseason training camp over Eddie Ulofoshio. And then tackle Ryan Vandermark. I don't know why, but Tyler Grable continues to be well ahead of him on the depth chart, apparently. Well, not well, but just ahead of him. And then safety Mike Edwards. It's kind of a not a mystery, but that was quite the surprise to me. I didn't really like the Mike Edwards signing. I think people blew out of proportion saying he's the immediate locked in starter, and then he goes on to miss all of spring with an injury, all of training camp with an injury, all of preseason with an injury. I'm shocked he wasn't placed at IR, but they only went with 3 true safeties. 4 last night: DeMar Hamlin, Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop, and then 4 if you count Cam Lewis, and 5th if you want to have a stretch with Jamarcus Ingram as that third-time safety, kind of that rover role in the secondary, if you will. So those were the 2 actual injuries and 3 actual healthy scratches / inactives, 5 inactives in total. Stock up. I'm telling you right now, I know stock report is always stock up, mixed, stock down. I have no mixed and I have no stock down. This game is absolutely perfect. I literally have nothing negative to say. I may have a few thoughts here and there on stuff that I questioned a little bit, but that's just a couple minute things in the grand scheme of things. I have nothing bad to say about literally anybody in this game. Josh Allen, this was without a doubt one of those vintage Josh Allen alien performances. You could see it in his eyes when he's walking up the tunnel. He was ready to dominate. He was ready to play under the lights. He absolutely, I don't want to swear, but he absolutely F's up other teams in prime time, whether it's Thursday night football, Monday night football, Sunday night football. I don't care. It doesn't matter. He goes out there with an agenda, and he is ready to beat up on opposing defenses. And opposing defenses like the Jaguars, they're a very man-heavy scheme. Ryan Nielsen, I like him. He's a young defensive coordinator, come over from the Falcons and Saints the last couple of years, respectively. Or maybe the other way around. Doesn't matter. They play a bunch of man. And if you turn your back to Josh Allen and play man, like Khalil Shakir said in the post-game press conference, you're getting screwed by Josh Allen. So, Josh Allen, vintage alien performance, 23 of 30, which comes out to a very swift and very, very efficient 77% completion percentage, mind you. 263 passing yards, 4, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 passing touchdowns all in the first half. All in the first half. And then 6 rush. He adds in 6 rushes for 44 yards. And I was literally laughing at the TV screen watching this. He didn't have to bowl over anybody. He slid 2 or 3 times, which I've never seen him do before this year. But I was laughing because he was just jogging. There were 2 or 3 first downs where he's just a brisk walk in the park, ho-hum, just briskly walking for the first down. Just jogging along. Didn't even have to break a sweat. Jaguars defense didn't know what the hell was going on. I mean, this was a Josh Allen alien performance through and through. Excuse me. And if he doesn't get AFC Offensive Player of the Week this week, it was the last night of the season, so we've seen everyone else play. There were no real true contenders. It's a damn shame. And I want to know who puts out those awards if he doesn't get that. Sorry. Next, running back James Cook. Now, he didn't stuff the stat sheet other than his 1 touchdown, as you'll see. 11 carries on the ground, 39 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, and then through the air is really where he made his hay, if you will. 4 catches for 48 yards. Now, he would have had 5 catches for 60 yards and a receiving touchdown if he if he would have just, caught the pass. It wasn't this perfect pass. It was. I'll say. It was a perfect pass from Josh Allen. In the grand scheme of things, did it matter? No. Because then the very next play, Josh Allen came back with an absolute dart of a touchdown to Ty Johnson, I think. And otherwise, backup or running back as depth. But still, James Cook, that's the one downfall of his career. Short yardage stuff, which I'll get to that in a second. And his hands are kind of questionable. It went right through his hands. I don't think PFF will charge it as a drop. It's PFF only charges drops technically is when it goes off your hands, which it did. But if there's no defender in the area, it's a wide open, blatant drop. I don't care. In my mind, I'm calling it a drop. So you got to make that play. But I don't know if you guys agree with this. Fellow Bills fans or just NFL fans in general. James Cook was playing at 190, 195 at best his first years in the league. He looks like he's up to 200, 202 now. That's only a 5-7 pound difference. But like that's massive for him. And like they trust him on the goal line now. They trust him in short yardage. Like he now has 3 receiving touchdowns on the year and 2 rushing, I believe. He had 4 total rushing in his whole career. 2 his rookie year, 2 last year, his second year in the league. He's on pace to get like 6 or 7 rushing and then 5 or 6 more receiving. Like he could have like, let's see, 7, 5. He could have like 12 to 15 touchdowns and no one would blink an eye. But he looks like he put on muscle. And then the other 2 running backs as well. Ray Davis, as a rookie, he got in there in garbage time when Mitchell Trubisky was in. But still, 7 rushes for 22 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. He had 1 catch for 1 yard. I'm surprised he's not used more. Not as a utility back, but like more in the short yardage game. But again, James Cook has put on muscle. James Cook has put on muscle, and he's kind of like pushed off Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, if you will. So he got in the end zone. And then Ty Johnson, this was when he caught a touchdown the play after James Cook dropped it. 3 carries, 18 yards. Who cares? That's nothing. But 3 catches, 28 yards, 1 touchdown. All 3 of our running backs can do both things. James Cook can run the ball and catch the ball at a high level. Ray Davis can run the ball and catch the ball at the high level for the future. Ty Johnson right now does nothing great, but does everything at a decent enough level, high-end level for both as well. So Joe Brady can really deploy a lot of different alignments. Now, not really, there's never going to be any 2-back sets in the backfield. Maybe like a Curtis Samuel and James Cook, but it's never going to be like James Cook and Ray Davis or James Cook and Ty Johnson. There's never going to be 2 running backs on the field at the same time because they all kind of do the same if you really think about it. The same thing. And then another, no, not a rookie, sorry. Third-year player, wide receiver Khalil Shakir. 6 catches, 72 yards, 1 touchdown. I freaking love this. Well, he's not a kid. He's in the NFL. I freaking love this guy. 3rd year in the league. Sean McDermott said this a couple weeks ago. Now, I've been saying this for the longest time. Khalil Shakir isn't the fastest guy. He's not the strongest guy. He's not the most physical guy. But I'll be damned if he doesn't do everything right. He does everything at such a high level. He's one of the most underappreciated wide receivers and honestly, league-wide, one of the most underappreciated players in the entire league. He provides elite run after catchability, elite hands. He doesn't drop nothing. Elite route runner. And his speed at the combine, he's not some burner, but he ran 4.44 speed. That's a mouthful to say. But he ran 4.44 speed in the 40 in the combine a couple years ago when he came out of Boise State. Like that's like I love Khalil Shakir. He does everything at a like high level where you're just like, wow, his contact balance, like he's like a running back with the ball in his hands. Like he just never goes down. He fights for extra yards. He's always getting first downs. He is a slot machine. We haven't really seen him line him on the outside with his versatility, but like he carves people up in the slot. And then wide receiver Keon Coleman. Now he was sitting the first quarter. Sean McDermott said it was because of an on-time issue. To me, that means he was like late to a team meeting or team function or something. I guess he's got to learn from that, but he clearly learned from it because he stayed hot. Like he stayed ready in the sidelines, came in, only had 1 catch for 24 yards, but that 124 catch was a touchdown. So think of these rookies like Ray Davis got a touchdown and Keon Coleman got a touchdown. And Keon Coleman's wasn't in garbage time. Like it was in the second quarter. The game was still like not relatively close, but it was still relatively early in the game. And then tight end Dalton Kincaid, 3 catches, 41 yards, 1 touchdown. This is the big blow-up game that we were expecting from Dalton Kincaid. Week 1, he had 1 target and 1 catch. Big deal against the Cardinals. Last week, he had 4 catches for 33 yards, but I didn't like how Joe Brady deployed him and used him. That was my one knock against the Dolphins last week. All his passes were screens. Now, good on him, elite run after catchability, but all his passes were screens. And it looks like Dalton Kincaid's red zone efficiency is going to vastly improve this year because he had 3 total touchdowns last year, 2 in the regular season, 1 in the playoffs against the Steelers. And it looks like he could get 5 or 6 touchdowns in the red zone this year. So he improved that. 3 catches, 41 yards, and a touchdown. Like, no, we don't have a wide receiver 1, but like we have guys. I've said this before. Khalil Shakir. So what a like freaking football player, just like Josh Allen said. Dalton Kincaid, burgeoning superstar. Now to the defense. Like this defense, holy mother of God, they balled out. And this is, I'll say this 1,000 times, This is without Matt Milano. This is without Terrell Bernard, two of your superstar linebackers. This is without, after moving on from Jordan Poyer, Trey White, Micah Hyde. Without all these guys, and Taron Johnson, without all these guys in the media and past, I'm just going to be honest here, to put it candidly, they played their asses off. This Bobby Babich-led defense played their asses off. It's awesome. I'll go through a handful. Defensive end Greg Rousseau, 1 tackle, 1 QB hit, had a couple of nice run stops as well for no gains. Defensive end Von Miller, holy crap, guys. He is all the way back plus more. He's going to be on this team next year. No more post-June first cut. He has 1 tackle, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 QB hit. 3 games, 3 sacks, and I'll keep saying it. I absolutely love how they're deploying Von Miller. You don't need Von Miller out there for 1st and 10 obvious run situations. 2nd and long, 3rd and long, 4th and long. In fact, his sack, I believe, on Trevor Lawrence, actually, I know it was on 4th and 3. Put Von in there, have him 35 to 40, 45% of snaps, maybe on a good week here and there, rarely. Have him tee off on a quarterback. That's what he's known for. Like, he's an easy first ballot Hall of Famer once he retires in 2 or 3 years, most likely, because he's 35 years old. So, yeah. And then we'll just keep going. D lineman here. Defensive end AJ Epinesa. 2 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2, not 1, 2 QB hits. I absolutely love how they're splitting their ops between AJ Epinesa, Von Miller. And just imagine, like, DeJuan Smoot only played, like, I think the number was 38% of snaps this week, and I didn't see him at all, but, like, do anything. That's okay, though, because it was his former team. You know, he wanted probably 45 to 50% of snaps, but D-line rotation, and he's come back from a toe injury, missing the first 2 weeks. But just imagine when he can get into that rotation. We have high-end star power with Rousseau and Miller, and high-end depth with Epinesa and Casey Tuhill, Javon Solomon, and once DeJuan Smoot gets fully healthy and recovered. Speaking of that depth, defensive end Casey Tuhill, garbage time backups, but, like, holy hell here. 2 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 QB hit, and 1 fumble recovery. The star power is showing out. The depth is showing out. He had a sack in garbage time. And another way down the depth chart. Defensive end Javon Solomon, rookie. 1 tackle, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 QB hit, 1 fumble recovery. He freaking stuffed the stat sheet as well. Or not 1 fumble recovery, 1 forced fumble, not a recovery. He forced it. Casey Tuhill recovered it. Like, the star power is showing out, like I just said, with Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Von Miller, and then the depth with DeJuan Smoot when he gets fully healthy, 100%. And then Javon Solomon, Casey Tuhill, and I even love, like, the 2 practice options. Like, they've been elevated a couple times at flip-flop. Cameron Klein and Kingsley Jonathan, who are, I think, are rosterable pass rushers, especially Kingsley Jonathan at 5th or 6th rosters at defensive end on a roster at worst. I was shocked that Kingsley Jonathan wasn't claimed. But this is awesome. And then the 2 starting linebackers, Dorian Williams, 11 tackles. Balin Spector, 6 tackles. Like, Balin Spector and Dorian Williams, like, the book on them, if you will, is they're both pretty poor in pass coverage, more so Dorian Williams, but they're both high energy tacklers. They fly around, hair on fire. Literally, they both have long hair. That's where the expression comes from. Hair on fire. But, like, I saw massive improvements, especially Balin Spector getting his hands almost on an interception there, but knocking it away from one guy in the end zone before they yanked Trevor Lawrence out in the 4th quarter. I saw massive improvements in pass coverage. And if Terrell Bernard comes back and Matt Milano comes back in December, these guys have battle tested, if you will, with Dorian and more so Balin Spector. But I've been biggest Balin Spector, biggest basher, if you will, like biggest doubter, if you will, over his whole career, because he's always injured, I think, and, you know, not any high end play, but like damn, he surprised me. So next, this is really, like, I'm not going to get emotional right now, but, like, this is such a cool story. DeMar Hamlin, he had 5 tackles, 2 pass deflections, 1 interception. For anyone that said, DeMar's just on the team for what happened. No, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, with all due respect, like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. DeMar is not on the team just for pity. Maybe at the start of last year, that's what it was, but holy God. One career interception. You could tell he couldn't hold back tears on the sideline. He was holding that ball for dear life. He was going crazy. What a moment to battle back like that. I don't want, maybe they don't call Micah Hyde. I like DeMar Hamlin more than Taylor Rapp, even as the other first starting safety. Mike Edwards, forget it. You're not stiffing the lineup. Cole Bishop only coming in certain dime packages. No one's unseating DeMar Hamlin. If anything, people are unseating Taylor Rapp, and he's played pretty good as well. So no one's unseating those two. But what a moment for DeMar. And then our two corners, Christian Benford, he had 4 tackles and 1 pass deflection. I'm telling you right now, and he had a couple, 2 or 3 more reps where he absolutely bodied and extremely elite coverage on a couple receivers, whether it was Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, Brenton Strange at tight end, whoever it is, Christian Benford, I said coming into the year over the last handful of months, my one hot take and bowl prediction. I didn't do a bowl prediction episode this year like I did last year. I don't think I did last year either, but I should do that next summer going into the season. But I worked in intermittently that in episodes here and there multiple times that I thought after this year, Christian Benford will be considered an elite corner in the league. Whether that's top 10, top 5, however long your list is of elite corners, I don't know. But after this year, mark it down. Christian Benford will be considered an elite shutdown corner in this league. He's not just a shutdown corner as well. He's an extremely high-end tackler, where most of the Bills team is not. He's such a physical corner, and he's such an underrated athlete as well. And he's a scheme versatile player too. I know the Bills run a crap ton of zone, but he can match up in man. He can match up in dime. He can match up in zone. He is all over the place. And then Rasul Douglas as well. 3 tackles, 1 pass deflection. I'm telling you, Benford and Douglas are put this on the record right now. Write it down. Benford and Douglas are the most underrated corner duo in the entire league. Other teams have better individual corners, like the Broncos have Pat Surtain, but they don't have that second guy. The Dolphins have Jalen Ramsey, who I personally think is overrated, but they don't have that second guy. A few other teams, like the Chiefs, have Trent McDuffie, but they don't even have near that second guy. Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford, most underrated duo in the entire league. And I'm not saying that as just a Bills fan. Like, you should be able to tell, Bills fan or not, like hater or not. If you don't, then you're just a hater. I don't know what to tell you. But Taron Johnson, once he comes back as well, elite trio. It already was. And then corner Jamarcus Ingram. If you're finding diamonds in the rough like this, like Jamarcus, holy God, man. 2 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, 1 QB hit. Other than Christian Benford, he's the most physical player on this team by far. Well, not by far, but other than Christian Benford, he even rivals them at time, majority of the time too. He's the most physical, not just corner, but physical player on this defense, on this team, however you want to look at it in tournament. Jamarcus, though. Like 3 undrafted UB guys are on this team. Joe Andreessen, Cam Lewis, Jamarcus Ingram plays slot corner, outside corner, in rare instances, third dime safety, like he's done the first couple weeks, especially against the Cardinals. And then corner Kyer Elam. I know this was just garbage time, so who really cares? I care. 3 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection. He balled out in his limited action, and I think you could work him in intermediately. He's not playing slot corner. We all know that, but like they have guys, like their depth, like they have elite starters at corner with Christian Benford, Rasul Douglas, and Taron Johnson once he comes back. Hopefully it's not the next 2 or 3 games. Hopefully. And then they have like very high-end depth as well. Like Cam Lewis, if you put him at corner. Jamarcus Ingram, Kyer Elam. So this is just fantastic, this situation. And I want to give a quick shout out, not a huge stack up, but punt returner Brandon Codrington. He also had a few nice reps at the end of the game. I didn't really put this officially as part of stats, but he also had a few nice reps at the end of the game as a true corner. So Brandon Codrington had 2 returns for 41 yards. That's 20.5 average. If you're averaging 20 yards or more in your returns, you're doing something right. And then kicker Tyler Bass, 2 of 2 on field goals. The longest one was 43. Yes, he missed an extra point. Like if we ever miss by 1 point because of that, lose by 1 point because of that, I'm going to be so upset, but it didn't. And then the entire offensive line was absolutely phenomenal. There were only 2 penalties, I think, on them, and that was in the first quarter. It was a false start, and it was an illegal man downfield. I think the false start was on, Deion Dawkins, and then the illegal man downfield was also on Deion Dawkins. But I want to specifically shout out franchise right tackle, Spencer Brown. He hasn't allowed a single pressure in any of the 3 games this season. The Bills as a whole Josh Allen has only been sacked twice. Say it with me. Twice in 3 games this year. They're all working so together. They all play off each other so well. And this interior with Connor McGovern moving over from left guard to center after moving on from Mitch Morse. David Edwards coming off as that 6th offensive lineman off the bench as starting left guard. Osiris Torrance, how would he be in his second year? I don't think he's going to get all-pro love because he's kind of struggled the first couple weeks. This week, though, he didn't struggle. None of them struggled. I was very skeptical about that interior coming in with all the, not mismatches, with all the that's the term, with all the reshuffling and whatnot and what have you. But like this is a elite offensive line. I'll elaborate on that more later with my big picture takeaways and questions. And then I want to before I get to that, run defense. Run defense was garbage in the first 2 weeks. They held Travis Etienne to I think he had 11 carries for 68 yards. He really only had 40, 45 yards, big, huge chunk, majority of that, whatever you want to call it. A huge chunk of that was in garbage time. Again, the whole second half was pretty much garbage time. Maybe even a few minutes before that, give or take. So, yeah. And then our 2 coordinators here. Offensive coordinator Joe Brady and defensive coordinator Bobby Babich. We always start with offense, so let me elaborate on Bobby Babich. Through all the injuries, again, moving on from Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, and Trey White, true staples of this team. No Matt Milano, no Terrell Bernard, no Taron Johnson, trading for Rasul Douglas and making him into what he is. Absolutely phenomenal. D-line rotation is looking elite. The linebackers like Balen Spector and Dorian Williams coming in for Matt Milano and Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano respectively. They haven't missed a beat. Bobby Babich. Everyone eats on offense. Well, shoot, everyone eats on defense. I'll be damned if Bobby Babich isn't coordinating one of the best, if not the best defense. Well, the same thing, something to say about that, but at least the top 3 defensive league right now. And the offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. What a freaking mastermind. I'm nervous that Joe Brady is going to get a whole hell of a lot of interviews this next offseason, this coming offseason, March 2025. It is. Around that, or January 2025 when the hiring cycle comes up and he's going to leave. But for now, let's just appreciate him. Everyone needs in this offense, four different receivers caught a touchdown last night. Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, Ty Johnson, Khalil Shakir, and then a 5th player in James Cook had a rushing touchdown. And then 10 different receivers, 10 had caught a pass from Josh Allen. Absolute insanity. They're spreading the ball around. No one's selfish. Yes, that's a dig. No pun intended. Bad joke. But that's a shot at Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs, get the hell. I don't care about you anymore. You'll see when we get to play you in Houston. But it is what it is. Joe Brady, the pre-snap motion, going for it on 4th and 3, the aggressiveness of Sean McDermott, but the pre-snap motion, the dress up, if you will, one of my biggest critiques over Ken Dorsey over the last 2 years when he had the job was, first of all, he was kind of an idiot, but second of all, he had no pre-snap motion. Everything to him was just a Madden game and chucking the ball downfield. Josh, make it be Superman. Josh, do this. Josh, do that. Josh had 30 passing attempts this game, and we knew that was going to come. They had an elite run defense, but their secondary was trash. I said that in the preview for the Jaguars secondary specifically. But, yeah, Josh only had 30 passing attempts. I don't know if there's going to be a game this season where, unless he absolutely has to, in the 4th quarter comeback or something, where he has 35 to 40 passing attempts. I think he'll top out 30 to 32 in any given Sunday, any game. So Joe Brady and Bobby Babich, the coordinators, are going off. Stacked down, none. Absolute perfection. Big slice of the game award. Who really showed up and showed out? You could give it to Josh Allen. You could give it to Von Miller. You could give it to Jamarcus Ingram, hidden gem. You could give it to literally anybody, 4 or 5 different guys. But I'm going to give it for the story alone, for his first career interception. And we know what happened with him with the cardiac arrest in his first Monday Night Football game. Freaking Damar Hamlin. Big slice of the game award. He's awesome. Such a positive person as well. And then burnt slice of the game award. None. There's no sack down. There's no burnt slice. There's 4 or 5 candidates for Big Slice of the Game Award, so why would there be a Burnt Slice of the Game Award? Reflecting on 5 game predictions from preview, I'm happy to be wrong about the Jaguars ones. Josh Allen over 232.5 passing yards. That happened. We're 1-1. Keep rolling. Keon Coleman over 36.5 receiving yards. That didn't happen. If he played in the first quarter, it wasn't late to that meeting or team function or whatever. I guess he learned from it, but he would have gotten those 12 or 13 more yards he needed. He had 24, 1 of 2. Travis Etienne over 51.5 rushing yards. I don't know why they were giving the ball to him so much in the second half. They had no urgency when they were down freaking 47-10, but that's whatever. 1 of 3. That happened. So 2 of 3. Brian Thomas Jr. over 0.5 touchdowns, so I predicted him to get a touchdown. Didn't happen. 2 of 4. The receivers were atrocious other than Christian Kirk. Gabe Davis had 2 targets, literally caught one of them. Did nothing. I told you, Gabe Davis has done nothing for the last 3 years now. We know him very well. Brian Thomas Jr., very hot start to his rookie year, but he did nothing, so didn't happen. So we were 2 of 5 on those predictions. So 40% of a possible 100, obviously. 100 divided by 2. 5. So 2 out of 5, 40%. And then this isn't part of the predictions. I predicted the Bills within the game 27-24. As the game kept creeping up, like I said in the beginning of this episode, I kept saying to myself, well, I said this to my dad and family and friends too. I said, I could see a path. I'm not going to predict a path where this gets out of hand real quick. And the Jaguars are just totally dejected by halftime. And they won 47-10. So I guess I was way too conservative. My final thoughts, this big quiz picture. I don't have any questions, obviously. Final thoughts. Josh Allen is playing the best football of his life right now. The dude is an absolute machine. Again, I said this last week and the week before against the Cardinals. If you call Josh Allen overrated, you are dumb. I'm sorry. I don't know how other way to put it. Players call him overrated. Execs call him overrated. I'm telling you right now, they call that boy overrated because they are so scared to play him. They're trembling when they play Josh Allen. He's the hardest player ever to game plan for. And he's winning MVP right now. He clears everyone else MVP race. Patrick Mahomes, nope. He has 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions right now. Exact same ratio. Joe Burrow, they're 0-3. He doesn't have the stats to back it up, and the team success to back it up. Lamar, he hasn't looked great. The win against the Cowboys, they almost blew it, but the win against the Cowboys is all because of Derrick Henry on Sunday. So I know Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield was hot there for a couple games, and they lost the Broncos. Sam Darnold's probably the only other true contender right now for Josh Allen, but Josh Allen clears him as well. James Cook is on pace for a historic season right now. And I said he bulked up. He's going to get 6 or 7 rushing touchdowns and 6 or 7 more, maybe even 8 more receiving touchdowns. He's just got to catch the ball in the end zone, what he does best. This offensive line is absolutely elite. The one weak link, if you will, is Osiris Torrance, but he bounced back in a huge way last night. I said Spencer Brown has a single pressure this year through 3 games. That's just absurdity to the highest degree. And then, again, they've only allowed 2 sacks this year, and Josh Allen has barely gotten sweaty back there because no grass on his uniform yet, thank God. And then this defensive line has both star power, Rousseau, Epineza, Miller, and then it has depth when you go down to Javon Solomon, Casey Tuhill, DeJuan Smoot when he gets fully back. And then the practice squad options are roster caliber players as well, especially Kingsley Jonathan and then Cameron Klein. Takeaways from offensive snap counts. I'm in playing this year, obviously. It was third game recap this year. You guys know by now. I'd like to look at the snap counts to give us some big picture thoughts. MVS playing 70. He played 77% of offensive snaps. That's got to come way down. I only want to see him 35% of snaps out there, if that. I really thought he'd be a healthy scratch because he provided nothing but 1 or 2 deep bombs a game. They'll probably connect on those 1 or 2 deep bombs a game and 2 or 3 games here, but I don't know. 77% of snaps is way too much. Give it to Matt Collins. Give it to Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman, his snaps dipped dramatically this week. He played 72% of snaps in week 1. 91% of offensive snaps in week 2 against the Dolphins last week on Thursday Night Football. This feels like an eternity ago, and it was only 12 days ago. A couple weeks ago, I should say, rather. But 31%, again, with the whole tardiness thing. You had to stay ready. And then Curtis Samuel was just not a factor this year. He played 27% of snaps in week 1, 27% of snaps in week 2, a couple weeks ago, 27% of snaps last night against the why am I blanking? Jaguars when we beat them 47-10. So he's just not a thing this year. I don't think he ever will be yet. And then defensive guy like Bobby Babbitt and Sean McDermott and the D-line coach Marcus West, respectively, they had a heavy defense line rotation. And you know Sean McDermott loves that. And Bobby Babbitt as well as the defense corner. Listen to the snap counts. Ed Oliver, 62%. Greg Rousseau, 58%. Daquan Jones played 44%. Casey Tuhill, 41%. Austin Johnson, 41%. AJ Bonanza, 38%. Von Miller, 37%. I love keeping Von Miller at 35, 40, 45% range. I would usually say Ed Oliver, 62%, and Greg Rousseau playing 58% is way too low for me. Ed Oliver's got to be 80 to 85 at the least, and same with Greg Rousseau. Keep your dogs out there, but I don't care. Huge win. They didn't have to play. Backups came in like the end of the third quarter, slash early fourth quarter. So that's why the snap counts are abnormally pretty low for them. Those defensive linemen and the heavy rotation again is just so good. You know Sean McDermott loved that. Anyways, guys, I still can't get over last night. Like that was absolute insanity what we did. Like imagine if we do that on the Ravens Sunday Night Football. Again, I don't have the guts to predict it, but like just imagine. I'm thinking like a 3-6 point win. But we'll get to that preview in a couple days. Next 3 games, you have at Ravens, at Texans, at Jets. And at Ravens is on Sunday Night Football in 6 days. So short week, or 5 days from now, 6 days from the game last night. Pretty short week. And then at Texans, that's just a regular, boring, old 1 o'clock game. And then at Jets, Monday Night Football, we know at 8:15. Go 1-2 in that stretch, and you'll start the season 4-2. And then you're in excellent position. Like, Bills are 3-0. No one's playing better football than them right now. And no one's playing better football than Josh Allen. Like, he's playing out of his absolute freaking mind right now. No Stefon Diggs. Oh, you're going to regress. You guys moved on from franchise cornerstones. Those guys were old. Did they really be on the field and be effective? No. The answer is no. So, anyways, guys, you can follow me personally on Twitter at AWineGooner13. You can follow the show on Twitter at AroundSlice for scheduling updates and stuff like that. Let's see. You can consume this podcast by watching or listening on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or of course wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And lastly, you support me on Patreon for just $3 a month for bonus content found nowhere else, just for you guys as patrons. Again, for just $3 a month, you can sign up and join that at patreon.com/aroundtheslice. And lastly, thank you guys so much for supporting me with the growth. Again, just to recap, our first triple-digit episode, our first ever 100-view episode the other day. Now it's at like 150 views. Last time I checked before this recording here today. And then lastly, subscribers I think are at like 35 right now. So we've hit 30 plus a few more. My goal now is 50. Again, I'm not putting a timeline on it, but my goal line is 50. Big 50. So yeah, I'm like, you guys are the best. I know you can get to 50. Just 15 more. You're awesome. Thank you so much for the growth. Like last night was awesome. This channel is awesome. Everything's awesome. So anyways, guys, I will see you in a couple of days for the Bills-Ravens preview. We are absolutely rolling right now. I still can't get over last night. Like I couldn't go to bed for a while. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one in a couple of days for that preview. Bye.